Kelly, thank you for that presentation. I appreciate that. And we used to do a radio show.
Yes.
And about to syndicate one through the state. We'd like to have you part of this and do this presentation. Okay? Mm-hmm. So before we get to the questions here, you have so much energy, a ball of energy. Can we go backstage a little bit, and talk about the people that you surround yourself with and what kind of energy you see and what kind of attributes they have as leaders? Because you are in this environment of super talented people.
I am, and like I said, I not only stand on the shoulders of great leaders that have been in my organization for 15, 16 years, but I also work very hard to find leaders much smarter, much more experienced than myself on my board of directors. And when you manage an organization that covers the entire county with a staff of 16, you can imagine how overwhelming that is for all of us, because we're to the Glades, to Jupiter this morning after I leave here, to Boca Raton, and then back out to Wellington in a single day. And what I've learned is that one thing that I'm really, really good at is asking for help. And asking for help is not something that everybody is great at. And using our directors as an extension of our staff, you're talking about the George Elmores, the Val Perez's, Gina Melby, CEO of JFK Hospital, Fab Brumley of Bank of America, Harvey Oyer of Schutz and Bowen. Being able to reach out to those great leaders and say, I need your help in crafting this strategy for this new organization or this new initiative, and bringing them in and using their talents on top of the talents of our staff is really, really big. Leadership within my organization, everybody has employees that work for them. One of the things that I've learned is in order for them to be happy, and Kelly touched on it, you have to really understand what makes your employees tick. Mm-hmm. And getting up and coming to the Business Development Board, as much as I love that organization, is not what makes all of my employees tick. It is a means to a good living, but it is not their life. And I have to remember that. And so understanding that their families and their children are absolutely most critical is the way that I've been able to retain almost 100% of my employees. Understanding that they have a life too, allowing them to take off during the day to go to do something for their children or to take care of their sick mom. I know I'm going to get that back tenfold. And so we've developed leadership in our organization, understanding what makes people tick.
So what is passionate about what you do? When you go to work every day, what is it that turns you on?
Oh, come on, everything. This is the dream. I'm living the dream. First of all, I was born and raised here. I'm selling the village that raised me. You do not find that in economic development. As an economic development leader, I'm asked to take jobs in various other states and cities. I could not even come close to selling Orlando or Miami with the passion I have for selling Palm Beach County. Mm-hmm. This is an unbelievable area. To walk into a grocery store and to have a young man or a young woman walk up to me and say, my daughter or my son or myself, I was working in a hotel and now I have a great job as an assistant, as an engineer, as an intern at Pratt & Whitney, or my son is in the biology program or in the medical program at FAU because you recruited Scripps. To see that happen in our community, to see your children now get jobs, and to see your spouses and family members get good jobs is leap years away from where I was when I came home from college, where you either worked at Pratt & Whitney or you worked at IBM, and that was really all we had in Palm Beach County. Now I could go on forever about the diversification of industry here and the opportunities for our children. And to know that in my son's classroom, I feel the impact of science, technology, engineering, and math, that I see it as a parent because of the industries that the BDB has brought in, is really, really gratifying to myself and to this whole staff. And you sit on the front line. Imagine every morning. I am that front person that goes out there every single morning, and I'm either going to make it or break it for this county. That's a huge responsibility. Yesterday I'm sitting in front of a billionaire in my boardroom that flew in from California. He has developed 302 million square feet throughout the United States. And he was coming in with his wife, they're 80 years old, to find out if Palm Beach County, and with the son, it was the best place. And I'm sitting there thinking, my neck is on the line for this county. I'm either going to land their 300 employees or I'm not. And that's a big responsibility. But think about the impact that would have if it came here, and then multiply that. And that's why I'm so passionate. It's a big responsibility, but a great reward as well. Absolutely. You don't stay in a place for 30 years and hate what you do, right? I mean, most people don't stay in their job 5 years. Imagine every morning for 30 years, I've come to the same company. That's a long, long time to be doing anything. That's a long time to even be in a marriage, right? Let alone a business. So imagine that.
Questions? Anybody have questions? There we go.
Yes.
Kelly, can you cite 2 reasons your sense says that Amazon's going to go to Miami instead of Palm Beach County?
So I would say that if anybody got it in the state of Florida, Miami would be the front runner. Do I think Miami would absolutely get it? I think they have a strong shot. Why? I looked at the RFP. They have far more density. We have a population in the region of about, 3.5 million between the 3 counties. 53% are bilingual, and the vast majority of bilingual is down in Miami. The connectivity of the sites in Miami are far greater than the connectivity of the site in West Palm Beach or even in Broward. The ability to go on Tri-Rail, Brightline, the international airport. Remember, our international airport is because we go to the Bahamas here in Palm Beach County, right? So, so the international airport, the diversity of that culture there that allows Amazon to hit other markets and also be straight up the East Coast to get to Washington, D.C., where a lot of the policies for their internet marketing are taking place. And the number of colleges and universities there that churn out the workforce for them, and the ability to walk to the site is very, very important.
You talked about Brightline. You were going to talk a little bit about. We'll get a question in a second.
Brightline was.
You've never been on it. It's like a first-class airplane.
Absolutely.
They give you food and beer, nothing, free.
Absolutely.
30 minutes to Fort Lauderdale.
And I think Brightline is the only reason why they looked at our area, because they said to us, how do you think we can have 50,000 employees work at our company? Are we going to end up having to raid others? And when we open up the doors that you could recruit from Fort Lauderdale and you recruit from West Palm, all of a sudden they had a whole region to recruit from, and that opened up the doors. Yes, sir.
The Airport Authority, speaking about Miami International Airport post PBI, has the Airport Authority explored expanding PBI?
No. And I'll tell you why. At first I used to go after them a lot. Now I've backed off for this reason. I went to Denver recently with our airport authority to take a leadership trip about 2 years ago. And you know, Denver's airport is one of the largest, and it certainly has a lot to do with their growth. So I turned to our airport authority and I said, do you ever think that we'll even come close to maybe a third or a half of what Denver had? And he said, absolutely not. And I said, would you even try? And he said, not really. And I said, well, why? He said, because as long as you have an airport in such close proximity, such as Fort Lauderdale and Miami, you're never going to be able to convince those same carriers to come up to West Palm Beach. The density is not there, because you can fly out of West Palm and get to Atlanta. And as long as you can get to Atlanta, the same amount of time that it takes to get to Atlanta, you can get to Miami, right? On the flip side, as I was telling this lovely couple yesterday, from my office, my boardroom, to gate C is 11 minutes. If we turned into a Miami International Airport, I'm not getting to my gate in 11 minutes, right? So you want that 11 minutes. I said, I can even guarantee you I'm going to get the same parking spot. And their eyes just lit up. So if we go as big as that, you're not getting in and out of that airport, and it is not going to be ranked the friendliest. So I'm going to leave it alone. Because now I can take Brightline there to Miami or Fort Lauderdale. Yes?
Big concern for most people is housing. Obviously, affordable housing is getting to be higher and higher. Average house in Palm Beach County now is
$340.
So how can people afford it?
So big issue, and that's why actually I went on the Homeless Coalition, because I would see people that shouldn't be homeless on the back door of my steps in downtown West Palm. So the average house is $340,000. There's homeless, there's low income, and there's workforce housing. Workforce housing for police, teacher, low income for the clerk in a home health aide. I see the county moving towards more workforce housing, but not near enough. My concern is that land in this county is a commodity. Land is so expensive. I don't understand how in the world we're ever going to get affordable housing when land is $1 million an acre right now. Very, very difficult. So while the county is encouraging developers to put money in a set-aside fund, which would go into workforce housing, I'm not seeing that much product on the market. So there's going to have to be some public funds that go into the rehabbing of several facilities. But let me tell you a lesson I've learned. A lot of people say there's no affordable housing in this county. And when I bring you down from the Northeast to look at this area, like Cancer Treatment Centers of America was shocked because they said they couldn't believe that the pricing in West Palm Beach and Boca and Delray was the same as the pricing in Chicago. You know what I learned? Is people think that when they come to Palm Beach County, they're going to get a house on the ocean. You are not living on the ocean. I've lived here my entire life. I live the furthest away from the ocean. So you have to put it in perspective. Northeasterners also think that an average home of $340 is super affordable.
Right.
I mean, most of them are saving that in taxes to come here. So we've got to get the average salary of our companies to go up to be able to afford it. We have to encourage our cities, your cities, don't want that in their backyard, right? So you have to go to your elected officials in these cities and encourage them to allow that to go in. It's got to go somewhere. I've encouraged cities like Lake Park, Lake Clark Shores, Palm Springs, Green Acres, and Lake Worth, cities that are never going to land a Pratt & Whitney or a corporate headquarters. I've encouraged them to play a role in economic development by creating workforce housing. And I think that is a significant economic development initiative, and cities should jump all over that.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I know most of what you were talking about was on the eastern part of Palm Beach County. You did touch on it a little bit with the Aldi's distribution center in Royal Palm Beach. Where do you foresee the expansion and the growth further in the western part of the community?
Okay, so there's a lot of discussion about State Road 80 and a lot of companies that will come in, let's just say logistics and distribution. Look at Liberty's property on Southern Boulevard near Jog. So the issue with the Western Corridor is you don't have a whole lot of shovel-ready property. And you don't have clusters of property like industrial parks that have vacant land that is well suited for companies. Companies do not want to be wedged in between a Taco Bell and a McDonald's. So cities need to better plan for employment centers and set-asides for housing and set-asides for retail and park recreation and entertainment. What I oftentimes see is cities are quick to zone property for the first residential developer that comes in that wants to build houses, and then they come back to me and they ask me where are the employment centers and why didn't they go to Green Acres? Well, because you never set any property aside. All property is always presented, but your property has to be properly positioned and in a safe area with a lot of room for others to be co-located with them, because they want other users to be in and around. An industrial park similar to what's around Alpaca Ford in your area by Southern Boulevard is a classic example. But let me talk specifically to your area. When you get on Southern Boulevard at 7:30 in the morning, and companies do this like Aldi, they will come into Palm Beach County and they'll say, okay, I'm interested in Royal Palm. Let me just test the roads here to see if my trucks can get in and out. Do you know what Southern Boulevard's like at 7:30 in the morning? And that's why it takes me an hour to get to downtown West Palm. Automatically, Royal Palm Beach and the Western Corridor will be ruled out because the trucks don't feel comfortable turning and they can't get in that traffic and they can't get on 95. And if they can't get the product to the customer, time is money. So State Road 80 needs to be fixed. And I would also say that there needs to be multiple modes of transportation, which we're talking about through the chamber, because the company, Aldi, will say, I don't really pay a whole lot of money. Can someone get to my facility by mass transit or bus? We'll try and figure that out.
Are they looking to expand that because of State Road 80 going straight across the entire county?
Yes.
You mentioned something that I know, I'm a commercial real estate broker. We have very, very, very little commercial A space. Where are we getting this from? Are we gonna end up building new because it's so expensive? Are we getting older buildings and revamping them and doing the value added?
We're trying to do all of it. I know one thing, we're turning companies away. So I'll be very honest about that. So where are we getting them? Well, we're not getting them. We have to let them go sometimes. There are pockets of some space in some buildings that I'm well aware of. You know, Intech's moving out of the Okeechobee Boulevard building, so that floor will be available. There's different pods. So we are strongly encouraging developers to move forward. Well, what's the dilemma with that? It's the chicken or the egg. They need to be 50% leased to go vertical. My client is not going to sign on the building if there's not a shovel in the ground, because there's no guarantee when that building will go vertical, and the developer is not going to go vertical without being 50% leased. The only hope that I have, and the commissioner's not here, is that the related building that was shot down would come back again. And that's my only hope.
Is there gonna be a problem that do they want them to scale the building down, or is just, that's not really the fact?
It's not in my backyard. We're at maximum traffic capacity in West Palm. You know, the same conversation really any city would have if you were looking to build 200,000 to 300,000 square feet. So while we have it, while we have the need, we don't always have the political will. And really, I always say the elected officials are the design and engineering team, and I am the marketing and sales team. I can only market and sell what you all give me. I can't create a building.
I'll work on that.
Okay. Really, all of you, if I had one takeaway for today, really all of you need to work on creating the product. And if you can't zone a piece of property and you're not going to have the political will to go vertical, then we're going to be limited by what we have right now. But I think infill and redevelopment of certain properties, there's a great opportunity there, especially in downtown corridors of our county.
You mentioned in your presentation about all of us being an ambassador.
Yes.
How would we do that?
Look at your, so I have companies that do that very well. Look at your client base. Who do your clients know? Who are you working with that needs a hand that possibly could expand a little bit greater and further if you introduce them to our organization to show them the opportunities in a presentation like this that really paints the picture of good business growth. Banks and brokers are excellent referral sources for us because they also serve on the front line. A broker will get a lead, someone shows up at their door to see some property. A bank may get a referral on a loan for a company that's looking to move into this area. Just pick up the phone and call us. Talk to your clients about the growth of Palm Beach County. Spread that word to your out-of-town clients especially, and pick up the phone and call this organization. And that's really how you're the best ambassadors.
Thank you. Kelly mentioned that leadership rises and falls.
Everything rises
And falls on leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Since you've been with the Business Development Board for now 30 years, you've been the leader.
Yeah.
So tell me, as it grew, what was the pivotal points that jettisoned this thing up?
So in 2004, I, at that point, had served maybe 15 years in the organization. And sometimes you have to lose everything you have to really have an awakening that you need to do something incredibly different. And in 2004, remember, this company almost went under due to the controversy of the way that we courted scripts. Remember, the organization was led by my predecessor, Larry Pelton. This organization knew Scripps was coming into town. We did not get any public assistance for Scripps from county government, and we decided to go and raise money and purchase the Mecca property. I don't know how many people remember that. And when this private organization went and did that, the county accused our predecessor of having inside information and forced us to turn over the Mecca property and release it to the county commission and almost put this organization out of business. And at that time, I had my wake-up call. Within 15 minutes, somebody walked into the office and basically said, "Here are the keys. You're now in charge." I was 35 years old, and I had a 2-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old at home. And I knew my whole life would change if I took this over. And I also knew my life at home would never be the same. And I was right in both ways. And it's been a huge personal sacrifice. But at the same time, I had to get up off my butt and do things dramatically different, because every morning I would wake up and read that post and my stomach would just turn inside as to the accusations that the media was making about this organization. And that was my wake-up call, and that was the turning, and that was the test of my leadership. And I took that organization that was fledgling and about to go under, because imagine we would have lost 40% of our membership, or 40% of our funding, and then some, and turned it around and just jumped on it with Gary Hines, and the two of us created about 5 different programs. And we worked the media to our favor, and we came out and created a communication strategy, and we became extremely transparent with everything that we did, and created a strategy to communicate what we were doing with the media, the public, and the county commission like you've never seen before. And within a year, we took it from, a $500,000 corporation to 2.3. We had a 1-year contract that was about to expire with the county. I'm now in my third 5-year contract. So for 15 years, I've had this revolving contract. So it really, really, again, not being afraid to ask people and walking up to the board and saying, I need your help. And a lot of people have to check their ego at the door to be able to say what I just said, I need your help. And people want to be heroes. People will come to your aid just to make a difference in your company, and they will help you.
Thank you for sharing
Sure.
that. I appreciate that. Kelly Smallridge.
Thank you so much,
you
Kelly,
didn't
for
have
this
to do
incredible
that.
presentation and all what you shared with us. I have something for you. It's a book by Zig Ziglar, Inspiration,
thank you.
365 Days a Year. And let me read one of the quotes in here that I think very much applies to you. It's by Charles Schwab, and he says, a person can succeed at almost anything for which they have unlimited enthusiasm.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you
very
so
kind of you. Thank you.